Well, with that, we could get started to take advantage of everybody who got here on time. Um, so before we dive in, I want to make sure that everybody could hear in the language that they want to hear in. So I'm going to pass it to Diana from Linguistica to give you instructions on how to do that.
Thank you. Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos a la junta del día de hoy. Ya tenemos activado el servicio de interpretación para aquellas personas que lo requieran. Si se están conectando desde su computadora, en la parte de abajo del menú de Zoom van a ver un icono que parece un mundo que dice interpretación o interpretation. Tienen que seleccionarlo y luego seleccionamos la opción que dice español y silenciar el audio original para que no escuchen dos voces a la vez. Si se están conectando desde su tableta o desde un dispositivo móvil, van a tener que tocar su pantalla y buscar la opción de los tres puntos que dice más o more. Seleccionamos también, buscamos la opción que dice Language Interpretation o interpretación de idiomas. Seleccionamos el idioma español. Nuevamente silenciar el audio original si no queremos escuchar dos voces y ahí le damos al final a la opción que dice terminado, finalizado o listo. Si tienen alguna dificultad para poder encontrar la opción de interpretación, nos lo hacen saber por el chat para poder ayudarles. Ahora voy a dar las mismas instrucciones, pero en inglés. Hello, everyone. Today we already have interpretation available if you need it. If you're joining from a computer, at the bottom of the Zoom menu, you will see a word-like icon that says interpretation. You can select that and then you will select English. And if you're joining from a tablet or your phone, you would have to tap your screen, select the three dots. Again, look for language interpretation. You will select English, and at the end, you will give the option that says finish or done. If you have any issues, please let us know in the chat so we can help you. Thank you. Gracias.
This is Diana from Harder and Company, two Dianas today. I want to make sure that everybody is in the channel, the language channel that they would like to be in. So if you are wanting to be somewhere else and you're having technical trouble with your interpretation, please come off mute or raise your hand so we can help you. Everybody good. I'm looking at my screen in the chat. If at any time the interpretation doesn't work for you or you're hearing in a language that you don't think you should be hearing it in, or you have tech problems, please write it in the chat or come off mute and stop us. We want to make sure that everybody can participate and hear today. So thank you. So with that, good evening and welcome to the August Shafter CSC meeting. It's been a while. We saw you last in May in person, which was wonderful. And the last time we had a Zoom meeting was in February because we're on our quarterly schedule now. So we very much appreciate you all taking time out of your evening to be with us. So I'm Diana from Harder and Company Community Research. Today I'm joined, as usual, by my colleague Vanessa Gomez. And we're going to co-facilitate today. And our other colleague, Amy Ramos, who is also joining us today, and some of you might know her from other CSC meetings. She's at almost all of our in-person meetings, so she's here today as well to help us out. So as always, at the beginning of the meeting, want to go over a few housekeeping things. You're all really good at these things, so this is just a reminder. Please stay on mute when you're not talking. Everybody's really good at that. I can see that right now. Change the name that shows up on your little box, your name below in your little Zoom screen. This is really important for our discussions and to make sure that we prioritize the voices of the CSC members. Of course, we have time for public comment, but really want to make sure that we know who is a CSC member and who's a member of the public. If you're joining us today from an organization, please put your name at the end of, please put your organization name at the end of yours, like Steph has her name and then she has Valley Air District, so like that. Again, just so that we know who's all participating. Some members of our facilitation team or the Air District might help us rename you as we're going through. Sometimes things get cut off or something. So if your name changes, that's probably what happened. No worries on that. If you would like to participate in the conversation, you're welcome to do that in many ways. You could write something in the chat. A number of us are monitoring that. You could also unmute yourself and speak. You could raise your Zoom hand, and there's a little hand icon at the bottom of the Zoom screen that says raise hand. If you're calling in from a phone and want to do those things, you do *6 to unmute and ask a question or speak. And if you want to raise your hand and you're joining from the phone, you press *9, and that will let us know that somebody on the phone would like to ask a question. If you're a CSC member, resident member, and are participating in the stipend program, you need to participate in about 3/4 of the meeting to be eligible for a stipend tonight. So that's about an hour and a half. So in this meeting, that's till about 6:30. I think this is going to be an exciting meeting, so I think we're going to keep you riveted the entire time. So that shouldn't be a problem. And with that, I'm going to go over our agenda for tonight. And this is really building on the work that we all did together in May at the in-person meeting. And then there was also a subcommittee meeting last month. And these agenda items are really building off of those and giving you more information for those. We're going to start what we're doing right now with some welcome and introductions. The first agenda item is going to be one of the two where we're going to build consensus, and we'll talk in just a second about what that means. And that first one is about vegetative barriers and urban greening. And we have about 25 minutes for that agenda item, so a good amount of time. The next agenda item also has a good amount of time, about 25 minutes, and that's another consensus building item about CERT measure implementation updates. After those two, we're going to hear an update about wildfire resources and outreach, and then close with our normal standing updates, wrap up and next steps, and then time for public comment. So some of you might be wondering what it means to build consensus, and especially since we've not done that in Shafter for a while. So we'll give you an overview again once we get to that point in the agenda, but just so that you're kind of prepared, you know what you're getting into for today. We're going to give a little bit of an overview of what it means to build consensus before we jump into our main agenda items. So what consensus means is that you as a group have done three things. So one, you've had a chance to discuss whatever the topic is. You all have a clear understanding of what the proposal is. And then the third thing is that the CSC members generally agree on what the next steps are. And so what generally agree means is it doesn't mean that every single person has to agree. It just means that most people agree on what the next steps are and how to move forward. Regardless of what your opinion is, we want to hear from everybody, and we're going to capture notes that get at and that record everybody's opinion. And again, once we get to this point in the agenda where we're talking about whether or not we've reached consensus, we'll share these slides again so that everybody's clear on what that means. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Have I stopped? Do you not see my screen anymore? Okay, good. So I'm going to pass it to Stephanie from the Air District for some opening remarks.
Hi, everyone. This is Stephanie. Thanks so much, Diana. It's really great to see everyone tonight. I think, like Diana mentioned, I am always so appreciative of this entire group who's been so committed kind of for this amount of time that we've been working together on the SERP and on the monitoring that we're doing kind of through AB 617. And I think this meeting is really a huge like Diana mentioned, a huge intersection of so many of the topics that you all are working on and have prioritized to bring clean air, measures into the community. I'm really excited to dig into vegetative barriers and urban greening, and also excited to talk about some opportunities with the lawn and garden program, as well as I think just some timely informational updates related to, air quality and wildfires, being that it is kind of this time that we're thinking about it now that we're in summer. I just wanted to thank everyone for being here tonight and looking forward to jumping right in.
This is Diana. Thank you, Steph. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Vanessa to kick off our first agenda item.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. This is Vanessa. Thank you, Diana. So for our first discussion today, Stephanie from the Air District will be sharing a recap of what was discussed at last month's Vegetative Barriers Subcommittee meeting. She's also going to be sharing some details about the Air District's proposals to shift funds to the urban greening measure to increase trees at parks, schools, and other community sites close to residents. The goal at the end of this presentation, and once everyone has asked their questions and provided concerns, is to gather consensus on whether to move forward with this reallocation of funds. And after the Air District has finished their presentation, we encourage you all to ask any questions or share feedback to make sure that everyone is well informed before building consensus for this item. So that being said, I'm going to pass the mic back to Stephanie for the presentation.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Before I share my screen, I just wanted to really thank this whole group, especially the City of Shafter, Mike James, for all the kind of collaboration and really just hearing kind of the updates and feedback that the CSC had back from our in-person meeting in May. I think these updates are a good reflection of kind of, again, that feedback that you all provided, the city kind of hearing that, responding to it, and then also kind of some good, opportunities to do plantings in the community through urban greening as well. So I'm going to dig into the slides. I am, just in the interest of it being a very information-filled presentation, going to go through the presentation and I'll take questions afterwards. So as an update to everyone, I'm going to walk us back kind of all the way back to, it wasn't that long ago, but back in May, we met together in Shafter in person, and we had a really great in-person meeting. A big component of that meeting was to review a proposal that we had for vegetative barriers. I just want to take a moment to remind folks of what that original proposal was before I kind of talk about the updates. And so the original proposal was two plantings at two sites. There was a half-mile stretch on the north side of 7th Standard Road, and then there was a mile stretch on the center median of Lerdo Highway between Cherry and Zerker Road. A big highlight of this project, I won't go into all the details, but kind of a big highlight and why the City of Shafter really put forward these projects is really to make sure that these that there was a quick implementation time frame. The City of Shafter expected that they could successfully implement this project shortly after if they were awarded, and it could be completed within a year or so. Again, just as a reminder, back in May, we met. Here are some great pictures from the meeting, just to remind folks of kind of that meeting that we had. And some of the feedback that we heard from you all was to explore the cost and feasibility of sites that were closer to residents and ones that have been recommended via social pinpoint map that you all will remember. Overall, we didn't hear too much support for the 7th Standard Road site, but what we did hear was some support for the Lerdo site and whether it's possible to move forward with just kind of a portion of the proposal. Again, there was a lot of other great feedback that we heard that was kind of taken into consideration. And kind of following that meeting, pretty immediately, we connected with the City of Shafter to work on kind of the feedback that you all provided and kind of update that proposal. And so just some updates on that feedback you all provided. The City of Shafter did reassess those alternative sites that were recommended by the CSC and aren't able to move forward with any other vegetative barrier sites aside from the ones that they already recommended in that original proposal. for a couple of reasons. There is what are kind of the big ones here is the lack of kind of the public right-of-way, easements at streets that are near orchards and farming operations. Also, something that is a big part of this proposal is making sure that we can that the applicant is able to maintain these trees so they stay in the community. And there is kind of a worry of lack of sustainable water sources and pipelines for irrigation. And then another big reason is the city not having kind of jurisdiction over streets that really are outside of its limits. All of that being the case, the city of Shafter did, though, kind of after hearing all this feedback, I think they definitely heard kind of that feedback of wanting to see trees where, more residents are located, not necessarily being so far outside of town. And kind of all of this feedback taken in, the city of Shafter did let us know that they can take on additional urban greening plantings and recommends moving forward with this option. I will just take a second to pause. We did, like Vanessa had mentioned, this is something we kind of reviewed a more in-depth presentation at our vegetative barriers subcommittee. So I do wonder, Rocio, if you don't mind dropping the presentation into the chat in case someone kind of wants to look at all of these details. But I will kind of present the high-level kind of revised proposal that we reviewed in the vegetative barrier subcommittee. Which is in order to maximize the trees that are planted through this funding and kind of bring back benefits to the Shafter community, the city worked on an updated set of proposals, which is one, to continue with one vegetative barrier planting on Lerdo Highway. It would be about 50 trees for about $253K. The second part of their proposal is to reallocate about $550,000 from the locomotive measure, which I know that in the past we've talked about it plenty about kind of the challenges we're seeing with our locomotive measure and getting an applicant to apply, and reallocating again that funding to the urban greening measure to increase trees at parks, schools, streetscapes, and other community sites that are closer to residents, kind of closer to the city center. And then just given the fact that we definitely hear from folks that vegetative barriers is still a priority, we will continue as a district. We've done a lot of outreach related to this measure, but we do want to continue to work with the CSC on outreach on the remaining $550,000 in the vegetative barrier measure to continue to seek other additional entities to apply. And that's something that we want to make sure that we're continuing to work with you all closely on. We will kind of come back, we can reassess this in about 6 months with you all, because we also want to make sure that kind of this is our commitment overall in the whole CERP with you all, is that we are continuing to, have a good sense of where measures are going, where, which measures are experiencing challenges. So we will continue to work with you all on outreach and kind of reassess the vegetative barrier measure in about 6 months. Something that I think is definitely a cool opportunity with this is the city of Shafter, should it be the case that they are awarded this, they look to do plantings as soon as possible. If they can, if everything works out well, and if we're able to contract with them by the fall, they want to start planting in the fall because this is a really actually critical window for them to be able to do the work. If it gets too close to winter time, it gets much colder. It's not very stable for them to be able to plant trees. So fall is a really great window for them to be able to do this work. And so a question that they wanted to pose to this committee is, where would the committee like to see the city plant up to 200 new trees? It could be in parks, and it could be at existing city parks like Veterans Park. I know there's a big park that's kind of scheduled to be built in the North Shafter community. It could be at a future park. It could also be at the future park that's planned for La Colonia. It could be areas like downtown and local schools, public buildings, and other prominent kind of streetscapes in the core city along 43 and along Lerdo. Just kind of wrap this up overall, just as an update to everyone, I want to thank everyone who was able to attend the vegetative barrier subcommittee. I know not everyone was able to, though, so just as a summary to everyone, in that vegetative barrier subcommittee, the group that attended that did recommend moving forward with the proposal. And overall, kind of with next steps, with the CSC support, the district will plan to contract with the applicant as soon as possible. And again, like I mentioned, there is kind of a big kind of time sensitivity with this. If this project is approved in a timely manner, that would allow plantings to begin in the fall. If we kind of miss that window, it would be likely, like it wouldn't be until probably the next spring that the city could do this type of work. So we just kind of want to keep that in mind, is there is an opportunity to see trees potentially planted in the next few months here. The last thing that I will close on is I do want to remind folks, I know it's something that we talk about a lot, but is kind of making sure that we are keeping in mind where we are kind of with the commitments in the SERP, and just that this funding is definitely something we want to get out into the community as soon as possible. And this, I know that there are some folks that are very, very interested in seeing vegetative barriers. And so as a district, we are committed to continuing to work with you on outreach. But we do see some very cool opportunities here to still get to see trees planted in the community kind of through this urban greening avenue, and still a vegetative barrier site happening on Lerdo. And then we'll, again, continue that outreach with you all to see if there's other opportunities kind of beyond this. With that, that is the end of the presentation. So at this time, I'm happy to take any questions or any feedback from folks about this.
Looks like we have a couple of hands raised already. Let's start off with Linda.
Hi, I just wanted to see if you guys received the photos I took. I took some pictures at Veterans Park to show the need there, our new park at Fresno and 43. And I also took a picture of the park that is coming up in the colony. And I was just wondering if those would be able to be shared with the group so they can see the need for some of the urban greening vegetative barrier or trees there. And then also, I am sorry, I didn't get a picture of the new sports complex that's going to be south of Lerdo. You can see all the light structures going up that's going to be for our community as well. And I don't believe they have trees there. So if you want, I can always go get more pictures, but I just wanted to see if you received them and if at all we could share those with the group.
This is Stephanie. Thanks so much, Linda. And I wanted to thank Linda for kind of directing us and pointing us to some parks to visit our last time in Shafter. For time, I didn't put all the pictures, but I do think I totally agree with you, Linda, that it would be good to share them. So I'm going to pop some into the chat. And then Linda, you feel free also to pop any pictures that you want to share in the chat as well if you feel comfortable. But we definitely have the pictures and we can share those.
Thank you.
This is Vanessa. Thanks, Linda, for your question. Sessa, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think Stephanie mentioned that to get feedback as to where the communities, and I was interested how much weight the opinion of community had, if it's more advisory or if community consensus was determinant of where those trees could go. Because I know the places where the trees could be added is pretty, it sounds like there is support for adding them in parks, but part of the areas that had the city had in mind was also Lerdo, which was part of another proposal.
This is Diana Cesar. I'm going to interrupt you
So I was
because
wondering if, yeah.
we could only hear, I think, every other word. I think I got the first part of your question and I'll let Steph or somebody from the Air District answer that, and then you could repeat what the second part was. I think the first part of your question, and correct me if I'm wrong, is how much weight does the community impact have on where the trees get planted that would be part of this urban greening proposal? Is that correct? Was that your question? Okay, thank you. So does somebody from the Air District want to take that?
This is Stephanie. I'll speak on the district side, and then Mike, if you want to add anything. Overall, I think it is an important aspect of kind of what we're doing here, that the CSC is definitely supportive of kind of the locations that the city is looking to plant these trees. Something I will add is, so long as it is something of a location that the city can plant on and has the jurisdiction, I think that will also be a key part of it, is if the CSC wants to plant something and the city doesn't have authority. I think that's kind of would be, something that we'd have to talk about. But I do think, Cesar, that I only heard parts of your question, but I think you also spoke specifically about the Lerdo site, which was a site that was originally proposed in the first round, the very original set of the vegetative barrier proposal, which our feedback to the city was that overall, anyone can correct me, but I didn't hear any support for that site. And so I don't think we'd look to do plantings at that site. Cesar, let me know if I didn't answer your question.
Yes, feel like you can read my mind. Thank you.
This is Vanessa. Thank you both. Michelle, go ahead.
Hi. I did go to the subcommittee about this, and the vegetative barriers is one separate idea, and urban green is another separate idea. We tend to overlap sometimes when we talk about them. Mm-hmm. And the vegetative barriers on Lerdo, we were all in agreement. We like that. The city could do it. The water structure's there. We think it'll be a good addition. And the urban greening, we liked if we could get some of the urban greening in those parks. That would be great. I don't know how you decide what park or anything. I mean, is there a timing issue? Like, if the Lerdo Fresno 43 park is too far off, I don't want to miss our window and hold trees and then not have the funding there or something. Veterans Park's there now. The community uses it a ton. And so if that was something, that would be great. Of course, the new rec center too would be great, but I'm just concerned about holding something and if it didn't happen. What happened? Am I still there?
Yeah, this is Diana. Yes, you're still there. Dora, I believe you are sharing your screen. Did you want to show us something, or was that on accident?
It was accident.
Okay.
Sorry.
We're still seeing it. There you go. Thank you.
So that was the thing. Everybody at the subcommittee meeting was very enthusiastic and very much on the same page about making these trees in the vegetation barriers and urban greening happen. And as Stephanie mentioned, we got to make this happen. Going to get every penny out of this before the time ticks away on us. So that was just what we said, and and I'm totally on board with all that, if that's what we decide we want to do.
This is Vanessa. Thank you so much, Michelle. Annabelle, you have your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Sí, el comité y parte de
I'm sorry, I can hear her a little far, so she's getting close.
parte de la
The committee, in part of the community, we decided not to give money to the city. We want to use it in another thing because the city has money. The city knows where to put their trees, and also the city is responsible for the parks and the recreation to put trees on their. So I think that the community in Shafter has other needs for the city, like traffic lights and light and other things that are more important than the trees. And the vegetative barriers that are different from the trees, we agree on those. Why? Because those are what are protecting our community from the dust and all the pollution from the dust. So that's what we decided. So I don't know what are you going to be deciding, but that's what the community and the committee decided, and we accept any comments. Thank you.
This is Stephanie. Can I respond really quickly? Perfect. Thank you for that feedback. Something that I will say is this funding is kind of earmarked for very specific purposes. We cannot use funding from the SERP to pay for things like streetlights and things like that. They go towards emission reducing projects or mitigation projects. And so I just want to make sure that that's clear that there is an opportunity to do some plantings if folks want to see, if folks want to see trees planted in the community. This is kind of the main avenue in which this will happen, is for us to kind of move forward with the city. We've released a couple of RFPs and not had any other folks apply for it, aside from Wonderful that planted the first set of vegetative barriers. And so if folks are interested in kind of trees happening in the community, this is really kind of the avenue that it would happen. But we can't decide as a committee, though, that, that we want, for example, something like street lamps or things like that, because that's not a part of kind of the emission reducing air quality benefit type of work that we're doing here in AB 617. So I just wanted to make sure that part was clear. Let me know if I haven't answered any parts of the question.
Quiero pedir disculpas porque me equivoqué.
I want to
No,
apologize
no
because
están
I made a
solo la luz
mistake.
mercurial y todo lo
It's
que
not just the street
calles
lights what we
que
need.
están levantadas
There
de
are
árboles,
streets
son
that
calles que los niños en
uh,
veces van por la
where
tierra para ir a la escuela y
children
son otras
walk
necesidades
on the
más importantes.
soil to go to school. There are more
Y
important
queremos
needs.
que las cosas que se van a hacer se hagan
And we
para
want
la
for the
comunidad.
things to be done
Yo sé
for the
que
community.
los parques tienen
I
árboles,
know
que
that
todo, pero
parks have
miren, pónganse a
trees,
pensar.
but think about
Nosotros
this.
en nuestras calles
We
tenemos
in our
árboles que
streets
nacen
have
solos,
trees that are
que
born on their
pertenecen a
own,
la ciudad de la
that
banqueta para
belong
enfrente.
to the
Y la
city.
ciudad no se hace
And the
responsable
city
de
is
esos
not being
árboles.
responsible for
Nosotros
those
como
trees.
comunidad
We
tenemos
as a
que cuidar nuestros árboles y
community
queremos
have to
sombra
take care of our
frente de
trees
nuestra
if we
casa.
want shade in front of our
Entonces,
houses.
si saben las
So
necesidades
if
como la
you are
banqueta,
aware of
calles
the
echadas a
needs like the
perder,
banks, streets
eso es
that
es
are
lo que
in bad
queremos nosotros,
conditions,
que
that's
la
what we
comunidad sea
want. We want
protegida,
for the
sea
community to
ayudada,
be protected,
pero no con árboles.
but not with
Los
trees.
árboles es responsabilidad de la ciudad
Trees
tener
are
bonita su
responsibility
ciudad,
of the city
porque
to
para
have
eso
like
yo
a
sé que
nice
es
trees.
dinero el que ellos agarran,
I know that's the
pero
money
miren,
that they will
hay
take, but
calles que les ponen
there
una
are streets
plaquita de cemento con
that they just put
chapopote
like a
y
little
ya
bit of
taparon el hoyo.
cement and that's
No
it.
tenemos
And
buenas
then
calles aquí en
we
la
have
ciudad de
holes
Shasta.
in it. We don't have
No
good
tenemos buenas
streets.
banquetas
We
aquí
don't
en la
have
ciudad de Shasta.
good banks here in the
Entonces, que eso
city.
también no es contaminación,
So
que los niños
isn't
caminen
that
por la tierra.
also pollution for children to be
No es
walking
malo que los
like
niños
that?
estén esperando en veces el
Isn't
autobús de
bad
la
for
escuela y en
children to
veces
be
están en el
waiting
sol.
for the school bus
Hay
when
muchas
it's really
necesidades
sunny.
para la comunidad.
There are a lot of needs from
¿Qué
the
es lo que nosotros
community.
por eso
That's
luchamos por este
that's why
dinero?
we are
Y
fighting
el
for this
Distrito del
money.
Aire y los demás lo han
And the air
distribuido como
district,
les ha dado su gana.
and they have used the money
La
as they
compañía
wanted
Wonderful
to.
tiene
Wonderful
billones
company
de
has
dinero para ellos
billions
mismos
of
hacer sus
dollars
cosas que ellos quieren.
for them
Porque
to
el
do
rico
the things that they
quiere
want.
aprovecharse
Why
del
the rich
dinero de
one
los
wants to
pobres.
take advantage of the money of the
Si la
poor
señora tiene
population?
un jet o un avión para venir a
If
las
they have a
juntas desde su
jet and
casa
a
a la
plane to
junta,
come
no
to the
puede
meeting
tener para
from
poner
her
árboles.
house, doesn't she
Tiene que
have enough
agarrar
money to
dinero de
plant
donde se
trees?
está dando para la gente
She
pobre
needs to
y
take the
regalarlos
money
ellos.
from the poor people so they can
En
use
realidad
that
yo
money.
ya no entiendo. No entiendo
I
cómo
I don't
explicar las
understand. I
cosas.
actually don't
Nos
understand
ponen
how I can
tantas
explain
trabas el
this.
distrito,
They
el
put so
condado, el
many
estado,
things
y
that
se
the
vienen
district,
quedando
the
con el dinero
county, the state,
las industrias.
and the industries will
Eso
just
no es
keep the
justo.
money, and that's not
Con unas
fair.
maquinitas de cortar zacate y con unos filtros,
With
¿nos
some
quieren quitar la
filters, some
contaminación a
lawnmowers,
nosotros? Ok,
they just
métete a
want
tu
to
casa y
please
respira bien,
us.
pero
So
sal para afuera y
get in
está la
your
contaminación.
house and breathe normally,
Yo no
but
sé
go
si estoy
outside and
hablando
everything is
demasiado
polluted.
rápido o
I don't know
no
if
me
I'm talking
entienden,
too
pero por favor,
fast or you don't
llevamos
understand me,
5
but
años
please,
con
it's
lo
been
mismo.
5 years with the
Yo
same
me
thing.
pido disculpas por no haber
I just
estado en la
want to
junta anterior.
apologize
Se murió mi madre
for
y no pude estar.
not being in
Pero
the
me
previous
hubiera gustado
meeting.
haber
My
estado
mother
ahí
passed and I
para poder
wasn't been
ayudar a
able
mis
to be there,
compañeros
but
a
I would
decidir.
have liked to be in there so I could help uh, the other members of the community.
This is Vanessa. Thank you so much, Annabelle, for sharing your input, and my condolences as well. Michelle, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes. Um, I want to make sure we circle back to what you said about this SERP that I wasn't there. I came onto the committee late. The SERP was what everybody decided where we wanted to do vegetation barriers and urban greening. That was part of our SERP. So some of this money is earmarked specifically for that. We're working on sidewalks in a different project down 43 to cut down the dust and have bus stops for kids that are safe and not dusty. But this is something that was earmarked in the SERP that you guys all voted on in the beginning. And so we have to, unless we move funds somewhere else, which we keep on, we had stuff in there for the locomotives that we're not using. And so this is a great way to use it. And I understand that there are needs for other street lights and everything, but that's not a part of this part of the SERP. And we want to make sure that we're focusing on, like I said, I want to get every little dime out of this program that we can for our community. And this has nothing to do with Wonderful. Wonderful has nothing to do with Veterans Park. The kids that play sports out there, the shade and the grass and everything, that helps with better air for them to breathe and somewhere to rest under. And so I'm hoping that we can make sure we stay on the SERP.
This is Vanessa. Thank you, Michelle. Bianca, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm hearing both in Spanish and in English, but I'm hearing kind of the frustration that is going on because the city has already received some of the funding for urban greening. And yes, it was placed into parks. Yes, it was placed in areas of need, but requesting more funding to a canvas or not knowing where they're going to be placing those trees is absurd. They were mentioning of maybe putting it in La Colonia Mexicana, which the city of Shafter does not have any jurisdiction in that area. It's actually the county. So I don't think the city would want to share some of the trees with the county. It's something totally different. So that's kind of the frustrating part that I'm hearing over here, because as Annabelle was mentioning, industry does get a lot of money. The city has received a lot of money, but when it comes to residential receiving any type of help to mitigate some of the pollution, it's not there. Also, I was hearing like we've needed green vegetative barriers, which it's hard to see it with only one company has done it. So internally, I did prep with the residents, and they were mentioning of maybe doing another outreach to some of the growers that could potentially mitigate some of the dust and a lot of the pollution that is coming from the fields. Because as we know, Shafter is surrounded by agriculture, and agriculture right here, it's almonds and pistachios and all that. So it's a lot of dust. It's a lot of dust, and it not only exposes the residents with pesticide, but with air contaminant PM 2.5, ozone, valley fever. So it's a number of things, and they would want to see it more coming into a tangible, seeable measure that it's not just going to be a tree planted in a new park where we don't even know the future of those trees or not. So that's why it's just, I'm sorry, I'm blabbling. I know it's been a measure for almost 5 years. We are already on the 6th year, but at the same time, we want to make sure that it's used properly where we're able to see it, not just right now, but for our future. I know that the company Wonderful that did participate in the green vegetative barriers, their trees got stolen, but because of the contract that they have with the air district, they had to replace that. So it gives that extra security that whatever company applies or whoever applies for the green vegetative barriers is going to be something that is tangible, reliable, and nothing that industry could come and grab money. I've said them in the past, like the growers or industry are the first ones to get money, like the nut harvesters. Those are the first measures that were completely gone in the first couple months, while we're actually fighting to have something that is feasible and tangible, like the green vegetative barriers, not the urban greening. We already did that, but something that would mitigate a lot of the dust that is coming into the city.
This is Stephanie. If I could, I have a couple of maybe thoughts there, and I appreciate everyone kind of for sharing their feedback and reactions to this. A couple of thoughts that I maybe just wanted to share or help clarify is just I heard Michelle say it, but I do kind of want to clarify that we kind of the decision here is, I think to Bianca's point about still wanting to do vegetative barriers, I think this is, it doesn't us kind of deciding today that we do the vegetative barrier site on Lerdo and then urban greening trees doesn't mean that we can't do another vegetative barrier site down the line. Because like I mentioned in that proposal, again, as a reminder, the proposal is to do a vegetative barrier site on Lerdo. So again, that would be on the center median in Lerdo. And then to do some urban greening planting. And then the third part of that is to still kind of continue to do outreach. I just want you all to know that we have been doing outreach and we will still continue to do outreach. But I want to make sure what we don't kind of what we don't do though in this committee is that we are kind of not taking advantage of projects that can happen right now with urban greening in the hopes that someone might apply down the line. Like I've mentioned before, you know, this funding, we won't have it forever in Shafter. We have a really cool opportunity to do a lot of unique work here in the community. And for a very specific kind of air quality mitigation or, you know, emission reducing purpose. And so we can still do these projects and still do outreach for more vegetative barriers, but we have heard just a lot of challenges with people participating. That doesn't stop us from doing the outreach for more vegetative barriers, but we opened, I believe, the vegetative barrier proposal in total 3 times and still got, you know, the first time we got wonderful, and then the second time, you know, we didn't get a whole ton of applicants for the vegetative barrier proposal because it's really hard work to do. I know we've talked about the challenges a lot, so we can still continue the outreach there, but I don't want to miss out on the Shafter community having the opportunity to still get a vegetative barrier on Lerdo and to still get trees, and then we can still continue to do outreach. Another thing I just want to follow up on is I just want to make sure that that you all are aware that this is the perfect time for you all to share feedback that you all have of where you did want to see trees planted through urban greening. That was kind of the exact purpose of that slide, is to hear feedback from you all. I don't know, Mike, I know that the kind of the future park in La Colonia was a suggestion you all provided. I don't know if you can share just overall kind of the opportunities that CSC members have to provide feedback on sites for those urban greening trees.
Correct. The idea of recommending La Colonia, the park there, as well as local schools, even though we don't technically have jurisdiction, but we do have existing facilities and existing crews, whether it's the school staff or the county staff that are going to be out there on a regular basis anyway. Where we run into challenges being a lack of public right of way and a lack of resources is where you're building something from scratch and you have something new to maintain. Where the sites we have in mind, and we'd like to get some more feedback on, are either existing sites that are budgeted or have operational costs covered, or new construction site with that are going to be maintained, whether it's by the city, by the county, or by the local schools. But so we're happy to have the Air District compile a list based on the feedback they get today or later, or hopefully in the near future. And then we can definitely, if we can't implant the trees ourselves, we'll make sure we have cooperative agreements with either the county or the local school districts to make sure that we have access, and then everything will be maintained. So whatever we invest money in will be sustainable.
This is Vanessa. Thanks so much, Mike and Steph, and thanks everyone for sharing your comments and your questions. It's really important to hear all of your input to make sure that these funds are being used in a way that the community wants them to be used. I am doing a time check and I see that we're 10 minutes past time. And based on what folks have shared so far, I'm sensing that there's some mixed reactions to the proposal. And so I'd like to recommend allocating more time for this discussion so folks can continue to ask questions and provide comments. Does that sound right to everyone? Okay, perfect. So before that, I do want to share a consensus process slide, if that's okay with everyone, just so everyone knows what to expect with consensus. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick so you can see what that is.
And Vanessa, I could share my screen if this is Diana, if that's easier for you.
Oh, that's actually a great idea. Thank you, Diana,
Okay.
for doing that.
Is this the slide you wanted or the next one?
The next one, please. Okay. This is Vanessa. Thank you, Diana. So now I'm going to go through a little bit about consensus and what that process entails. So there are two steps to consensus building, which we're in the middle of right now. The first step is the presentation of information and the proposed action. So we just finished that with Stephanie presenting information through the presentation on the vegetative barrier and the proposed funding shift. And the second step involves discussion to make sure everyone understands the topic and the proposed action. That's what we're currently doing. We're making sure that folks have the space and time to provide their concerns, ask questions if they have them. And our role as facilitators is to ensure that CSC members' questions are answered. So what this looks like is if folks have questions, we'll keep an eye on time and keep the conversation going to make sure everyone has a chance to provide input. And after that, we'll ask you all how you're feeling about the proposal once questions have started to settle down and folks aren't raising their hand as often. So we'll ask you all if you oppose this proposal, if there's anyone who does not agree with it. And if most folks agree with the proposal, which means that more than half of CSC members agree with it, that means that consensus is reached. But if most people don't agree with it, which means that less than half of CSC members agree with what's in the proposal, then we will either table this conversation for the next CSC meeting or we will move to a vote. So that is what's going to happen today. Are there any questions about anything that I just shared related to consensus building? Okay. Thank you so much. So I do see that we have some hands raised, so we'll get right to that. Bianca, I see your hand raised. Please go ahead.
I'm hearing in the room, I actually went outside, but I'm hearing in the room that they're not agreeing on the proposal for the city of Shafter, nor the green vegetative barriers or the urban greening. They would prefer to see it somewhere else. As a vegetative barrier, one of the things that they were mentioning is maybe going to the board of supervisors or the ag commissioner and trying to do the facilitation with the grower so we could start moving maybe something with the vegetative barriers instead of the urban greening, because they really don't know where all the trees are planted or where I know that the city does want to provide the space, but at the moment they're not in agreement of doing that. And that's just something I have here in the room.
This is Vanessa. Thank you, Bianca, for sharing. Linda, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi. I am listening to all of this for both sides. And I understand the need and want for vegetative barriers. However, as we've discussed many times, we can't force a farmer to do that. I myself have talked to the Air Board recently about a situation that a resident came forward with me with. They were getting, overspray and dust and whatnot. So I just hope the group knows that we can't force the farmers to do it. From what I've heard, with the water metering and things, the farmers are actually getting less water now. So probably the incentive for them to put in a vegetative barrier is probably even less. I did go to a meeting and, we talked about the colony and how there's only one side of it that has a vegetative barrier. I thought that there was another on the other side, and it looks like a fence has been put up now. I empathize with that. However, like Stephanie has mentioned so many times, we only have, and well, Michelle brought it up too. We've all voted on this. The money is in the SERP for certain programs, so we can't move it to say for streetlights or something else. I would really be disappointed if we can't come to agreement to at least use the money in our community, even if it is for a park, even if it is up 43, even if it is for the new park located at Fresno. Please keep in mind that there's children in those areas and folks that are families that are going to use these new parks. And it would be very nice for them to have shade and protection from the sun and, trees that help block some of the dust and whatnot that does surround us. I empathize with it, but please don't let this opportunity for us to get funding into Shafter go away, because it would be just devastating if we lose hundreds of thousands of dollars when we can do something for our future, for the kids, for the schools, for the parks, for everyone in our community to enjoy. I know there's a labor camp to the north of that park that's going to be proposed. I would hope that families would get to come down there and enjoy that. The new plan for our Parks and Rec to be to the south of Lerdo, please know what that means to our community as a whole. And don't think that I don't empathize with the vegetative barriers. I've lived here a long time and I know, and I hope that we can, keep having this discussion, but we've also hit a wall. I've been on this for 5 years, and I mean, we can't force the farmers to do it, unfortunately. I just really hope that we can consider doing something for our community that will help in some way. Thank you so much.
This is Vanessa. Thank you, Linda. Michelle, please go ahead.
I know sometimes it's when we feel we have no control over where things are going, and I hear that because, that's why I like Veterans Park. If you put the trees in now, I can see them happen. If we save those trees for a future park, maybe it won't happen, or, but I mean, maybe another suggestion is a survey. If, we say we want to put 50 trees down Lerdo, you tell us how many trees we can plant. Could we say, let's put 50 trees? Would you be interested in 50 trees down Lerdo? Would you be interested in how many trees at Veterans Park or at the new park or the Mexican colony? And maybe then we feel like we have a little more control in saying than just saying we're going to do urban greening. We want these trees to go here. We want these trees to go here. Maybe that would help maybe facilitate the discussion if we can get to that piece, that part of the discussion. Thank you.
This is Vanessa. Thank you, Michelle, for your comment. Anabel, please go ahead.
Miren, Disculpe, no me quiero
I'm sorry.
sentir negativa.
I don't want to be negative. I'm not against it. I'm not against for the city to look nice, but I don't know if Linda was not there before.
¿Cómo se dice? Del nuevo
What do you call that?
No, el dinero que
No,
dan para la ciudad, antes,
not
mucho
the
antes.
money that they give for the city.
Les estoy hablando desde cuando
I'm talking
Jan Wen era
since when
trabajador de la ciudad
John Wen was a
Shafter.
city worker here
Miren,
at Shafter.
Él nos citó una vez
He called us one time at the veterans room. He explained us something so pretty that the city, that it was going to be prosperous and this and that. We started with that.
La mayoría de la comunidad de aquí de Shafter,
Most of the community here at Shafter, the community and the general plan. He talked about the general plan. And I started saying that I had been through that experience in LA. The general plan is they want to build a new city and they want to abandon the old city and charging the same taxes for both cities. That's one thing. And then I think it was back in 2020 or 2021, 2022. He was no longer a worker at the city. He was part of the wonderful company. So they called us again, talking about recreation, to the office to explain us a plan, a wonderful plan. Look, the wonderful company is going to give you money, 2 pence per each square meter that the company is going to build from now on. So they call us for meetings every month, every month, every month. From that year up until now, they said, okay, the money, something is going to work with the money and is going to be in charge of it because you are not going to be able to distribute the money. We accepted that. Okay, yeah, you gave us that paperwork. So yeah. Yeah, the company, my boss agrees with it. We have that paperwork. What happens after that money that was going to be used for parks and recreations? Everything was good up until that point because parks and recreation was going to get the money and we were going to explain the needs so they could help us to address those needs. That's why we are so disappointed because now there is nothing that he mentioned. We have proof, we have the paperwork, we even have like a lawyer, the lawyer that was with us at that time. We have proofs in written. How can you, with so many lies and everything that they've done to us, we could agree with it? I don't understand. I don't want to say that he's a bad person or what happened. I don't know because that we haven't heard from that anymore. So what I'm saying is that who should we believe? Where should we go? Who's telling the truth? Who's helping who? I'm not being negative. I'm just being realistic to the things that we are seeing, to the things that are being denied to us. If it's not the district, it's the county. If it's not one thing, it's the other. So just let us, okay, we are not going to give you money. And just let us do it. Forget about the community and forget about everything. 5 years with the same thing. And I'm sorry, Mr. Chan.
This is Vanessa. Thank you, Annabelle, for your comments. I'd like to pause for a minute to acknowledge one of the comments that was provided in the chat. So I'm going to read it out. It says, a majority of the people representing Shafter were not present at the last meeting, and those who were never told or asked on the decision, which is the cause of the discourse occurring. Thank you so much, Angelica, for that comment. I do want to say, given that we are at time and we are supposed to be at the next item, and given that many of you have spoken, and it seems to be that there are continued mixed reactions on this proposal, which is to remind folks is to shift a little more than $550,000 of funding to the urban greening measure to increase trees in public areas like parks and schools. There's some mixed reactions, and it sounds like there's a need for more input, perhaps a little bit more clarity about the details of the proposal. We're going to go ahead and continue this conversation at the next CSC meeting to ensure that folks have more time to continue this discussion and are able to reach consensus at that time.
This
I
is
see that.
Diana. Steph, are you still on the phone, or did you want to say anything about the timing for the next steps? And we realize that there's a number of people with their hands up still, and that's exactly why we're saying that we want to provide more time for this at another meeting, because obviously there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions, and we don't necessarily have time for all of that today. So I want to give Steph, and I see everybody's hand. I want to give Steph a chance to comment on her thoughts for timing, and then we could go from there.
Thank you, Diana. And I just want, yeah, I see a few more comments, and I actually think it could be worth our time to share. But what I'm hearing from this is we did have an opportunity to chat with some folks in person, and then also at our vegetative barrier subcommittee. But I know that actually, not just hearing the comments now and seeing the amount of people that are in our main meeting right now, I know not everyone had the opportunity to maybe kind of see where we're at with the project and express their feedback. And this was just given that we had kind of that process. I think we planned for a shorter amount of time to work with the CSC on. But what I'm hearing from everyone is I think if this warrants maybe further discussion and maybe coming back to it at a later meeting. I also want to appreciate Angelica's comment of just, and I think this is exactly to maybe the point I'm trying to make is I don't think we're all, I think there's still opportunities to clarify where we're at with this process. So I want to maybe hear some last comments, but I maybe could suggest, just based on the comments of that I'm hearing, is that we can plan to table this for a future discussion. Just given the fact that I think that there are some people that are here in the meeting that haven't had a chance to kind of express their thoughts and get their clarification that's needed in any prior meetings we've discussed this, including the vegetative barrier subcommittee. That's maybe how I'm taking this kind of feedback. But maybe I'll pass back to you, Diana, to maybe facilitate the last few comments that we have.
This is Diana. I'm trying to make sure that we get the CSC members' comments first. So I don't know what order you raised your hand, so I'm just going to call on you in the order that you're on my screen, and apologize if somebody had their hand up before somebody else. Philip.
Hi, how are you guys doing this evening? So I just kind of wanted to ask a quick question. If we don't spend the money, do we lose it? Does that go to a different community? How does that process work? Is this the money that is being allocated to us, or is this going to go to another community? Because I would not want money that is allocated to our community to help our people for a better quality of life to go somewhere else. I just want to make sure that I address that and that it's for record.
This is Diana. Steph, did you want to take that?
This is Stephanie. Thanks, Philip, for your question. This is Stephanie again from the Valley Air District. This is all kind of new territory to us. You all in Shafter and Fresno are you're our very first communities going through this AB 617 process. So what I will share about this is the funding does have liquidation deadlines, and it won't be here for the next, 20 years that we're going to try and work on this together. What I will say is we're going to try really hard to work with you all on opportunities to do emission reducing projects, mitigation projects, like the things that we've allocated in, in your SERP, that we want to try and work really hard to prioritize. There are some things that we know are interests in the community that we can't necessarily fund it, for 617, there's specific projects that we can allocate to, but I'll generally share that we want to make sure as a community and as a CSC, that we are using these funds, as soon as we can. That way we make sure that they end up, like Philip, you're saying, spent in the community. Yeah. Maybe hopefully, I'm hoping that answers your question.
That does. I just wouldn't want to see this in another community or people holding this up to have a positive impact in their communities. And so for us, I know that we go on a rant about the same things over and over and over, and total respect to everyone and their opinion and their observations. But for us, we got to get stuff taken care of and done. And so that's just my two cents. And if we are planting trees in the community and it's going out there towards the Mexican colony, towards the Rex Park, towards any of the other parks that we have in the community, even churches, it doesn't matter in that sense. As long as it's coming and the money is staying in town, I am pro for that. So I just wanted to make sure, like I said, I put my 2 cents into that and we're all on the same page.
This is Diana. Thank you, Philip. Brianda.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Brianda Castro with DCAC. I'm sorry that I missed the last subcommittee meeting. It seems like a lot of the residents and CM members also did as well. So I appreciate the thought of moving this to the next meeting and just giving us more time to think about the measure and how we can proceed forward, keeping in mind that we do understand that we do have a time limit on these funds. And although there is a time limit, I do want to reiterate that we do also have the opportunity to move funding to other measures that we see have a desperate need. I know there are some sidewalks that didn't get done whenever we had the sidewalk project. So there is other opportunities for this funded to be reallocated. I would like to revisit the question that Sarsad proposed at the beginning of the conversation. It would probably, or I feel it would be useful for the CSC and for us to know how much weight does the CSC have on where these trees get planted. If there is an opportunity for maybe the CSC or the city to solidify the contribution of the recommendations of the CSC, I think that would be something that would be helpful to make a decision, because if we do have an opportunity, for example, to plant a tree where there isn't, like next to a bus stop that doesn't have any shading, that would be a benefit that we know is maybe outside of the parks and recs. That also could be an avenue that could be explored. And then my question was also for Philip. For the Parks and Rec, for me personally, I'm not very familiar with the city processes. So it would be helpful for me to understand, like, what is the timeline of the Parks and Recs to be able to seek funding through other measures and other grant proposal solidifications or solicitations, I'm sorry. And because we know that these funds, the CSC wants them dedicated, and the residents want these funds to be dedicated for rural and areas that we know do not often see funding, and there's very little opportunities to get resources into these specific zones. So my question just is, it would probably be helpful to know, if does Parks and Recs have a lot of opportunity to seek other funding to beautify, the parks? If so, then maybe this is funding that we can focus in those rural urban areas that don't have that same opportunity. But again, I am not really well familiar with that process, so I think that would be helpful for me to understand. And yeah, we can just get a little bit more of like a promise that these are going in these specific zones that the CSC has put in time to be able to identify, like we did with the vegetative barriers. I think that would be just the respectful thing to do, since the CSC has put the input, their time, and these funds are dedicated, for these opportunities.
Thank you, Brianda. Steph, this is Diana. Steph, I noticed that you have your hand up. Is that to respond to one of the questions? Okay, so I will let Steph go first, and then Bianca, and then Dora.
This is Stephanie. Philip, maybe I'll start, and then if there's anything that you want to add to that response, I don't want to interrupt that response. But I also, Brenda, I'm so glad that you said that, because I actually do think to your maybe suggestion of opportunities to have the CSC provide input, we did, and you all will remember, we did a pretty comprehensive exercise to get your feedback on vegetative barriers. It's a big social pinpoint map, but kind of what I've realized through the process, because we had such a big amount of funding for vegetative barriers and really just a small amount for urban greening, is we've never as a CSC done a comprehensive like social pinpoint exercise together, where you all provided to us feedback about where you want to see urban greening trees planted. So I do think, Bree, to your point, this could be, I'm just imagining in my head, one, I do think there's, from what I'm hearing, like I mentioned, from the feedback, that there's opportunities to maybe have, hear more feedback, clarify anything that might be needed to clarify. And then I think another piece to this could be you all working with us in the city to put together like a social pinpoint map of all the suggestions you all might want to see trees planted for urban greening. So that's maybe something else that I'll add, and I'm happy to hear any feedback about that if that's something that you all would be interested in. The list that I provided on the slides that the city provided were just a starting point of generally where the types of places that make sense for them to plant trees, because they have the right, they have the authority to plant, they know they can maintain there. And so we'll have to still work within those, those constraints of we can only suggest things that the city can plant on. But if there's like specific, again, parks and areas like in the city center that makes sense, we can do an exercise together specifically about urban greening.
This is Diana. Thank you, Steph. I'm going to read some of the comments that are in the chat and then go to you, Bianca. So Michelle said that she would like to hear from everybody who has their hand up, and we are time permitting, hopefully going to do that. Philippe said, oh no, sorry, Linda first asked if we would miss fall planting if we wait and don't make a decision today. And then Cesar asked, could the trees be planted in a row at parks or other city-owned location to mimic the green barriers? And there was a couple folks who thought that was a good idea. And then Brianda also asked if Philip was going to respond, and that's on me. I did not give Philip a chance to respond. So I will give hopefully Philip a chance to respond, and then Bianca and Dora.
So I know we're in the process of building a park and it's in construction stages right now, to answer your question, Brianna. But when it comes to parks, it's not just us that own the parks. Our district actually is bigger than the city limits, and we're actually represent the marginalized areas, such as the county areas, such as Smith's Corners, the Mexican Colony, Cherokee Strip, and those type of areas. So for us, when I'm talking about our complex, the community complex, it is only for those trees. Could we get extra funding? I think it's possibly an opportunity where we could, but in the sense, we're talking about thousands of foot traffic that is going to be happening at our parks, which that represents a lot of the community already. And so for us, it would just be utilizing that to help the community with that. So there is opportunities, but I still am representing the marginalized areas already. Or with that being said, and so the city has majority of the parks. We represent our own park with the complex that we are building in regards to that. So I know when it comes to the Mexican Colony Park, I know there has been conversations already with the county asking us to see if we would be able to help them out. So that would be another park that we would be considering helping out too as well. So just food for thought, okay?
This is Diana. Thank you, Philip. Bianca.
Sorry, I just wanted to follow up on my comment that I think it's important for the CSC to represent that they've had a voice in the past of where they want certain things, but in reality it's really difficult because industries, as I mentioned earlier, are the first ones to get the funding and dispersed in their benefit, but when it comes to community benefit, it's not possible. When we did the first round of urban greening, the city had already applied it, so it's it's kind of a going again, like giving more back to industries or to city that already have funding instead of using it what the purpose of the AB 617 to mitigate some of the pollution in the area. So I think as I'm hearing the comments, it's important to go back and specify that this is an emission reduction plan. SERP, that's what it means. And if we do have trees, yes, it does stop some of the dust or things like that. But these are new parks where the city already has the funding for it. It's new plans that city should have had already have that funding and not using it in the proper way. I think it's important for residents to voice that concern that they've had that opportunity and if they want to use it into something new, that's where they're having a lot of discomfort. So as I'm hearing here, they really want something to mitigate the dust that is coming inside the community, not just trees that are randomly planted in a park that at the moment is not being completely done. They want something that is fruitful, that would take years and years for residents to enjoy, as in having clean air, having less dust in the area. So they do really want to go back and talk to growers and see where they could work out. Internally, right now, we're planning on what to do. What are the next steps? Because I know
Right.
this plan is it's on the fifth or sixth year that we've been working on. I know we don't have that much time, but that doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity for us to grow and see where we could mitigate some of the pollution in the Shafter area.
Thank you, Bianca. This is Diana. And Dora, I do see your hand up. Just want to get to you and yes, so Dora.
Yeah, I know that a lot of you are antsy and you're tired of having these funds sit there and that they don't go to the vegetative barriers, and you'd rather have invest in trees, but we are going to be there pursuing the funds for vegetative barriers because they are needed, and that is a form of mitigating all the dust pollution that we have to live with. And I understand that you have the empathy and all that for it, but we need your support to continue with that. Those of you who said about the park and the colony, as far as I understand, that has already been funded. There are going to be 9 trees, and the budget was funded a long time ago. They already have all the stuff that they need for the greenscape. And as far as I know, they're going to be installing that. So I don't know. And if there are trees going in there, they're not going to cost a lot. So as far as I know, that's already been funded. And Phil, I hope that we can take your word for it, that you will be working with the disadvantaged communities, because up to this point, there has not been that collaboration. And we look forward to that. And I think after we get those vegetative measures in, that then our group can willingly look forward to other places that we can honestly say that will benefit the community and that will be well spent. Thank you.
Dora, we're meeting with you guys tomorrow.
Yes.
So I would hope that be consideration that we're working with you guys.
Yes, we've been collaborating, and we
Just
see a good future in that.
Yeah, just for the record though.
Yes, and my board is anxious. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Diana, and thank you for Philip for responding. So I'm gonna this is trying to summarize, and then Steph, I'm gonna look at your square to make sure that I'm doing an okay job and see if you want to jump in. So the purpose of this agenda item today was exactly what we're doing now, was to for the Air District to make a proposal and for us to hear from all of you about what you're thinking about the proposal and what your questions are and what your concerns are, which is thank you very much. We always have faith in the Shafter community. You all are always so great about being honest with where you are, which is exactly what the purpose of the CSC is to get community input. So very much appreciate all of that. Where the consensus process leads us is because all of your questions are not answered and there are still some concerns about the proposal and about what it means to only have one vegetative barrier project going, or what it means to do more outreach for vegetative barriers, and where the trees would go if you all did decide to move money to urban greening. It sounds like there's a lot of questions still. And so I think what the proposal is now is to have a subcommittee meeting to dig into this a little bit more and for you all to provide more of this feedback and get these questions answered. And I want to pass it to Steph to make sure that that's like aligned with your timing, or what that looks like in as far as timing goes.
Yeah, thanks, Diana. And I totally echo Diana. I just appreciate this group because, like Diana mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, this exercise to build consensus won't mean that we all agree, which is exactly kind of how it's unfolding. And that's great. This is, a group of very diverse people that all have kind of their own opinions. But what I'm kind of getting the sense of is that I think there's still opportunities to help clarify and have further discussion, because I do just in kind of reflecting on the subcommittee, I know I heard it from a few folks that not everyone was able to attend that. And I think not everyone has had an opportunity to kind of share their reactions and kind of their feedback on this. I also, overall, my sense is that I'm seeing lots of common threads of things that we want to achieve through this, that I think, is worth exploring more. I hear there's a lot of interest in continuing to do outreach on vegetative barriers, which this proposal definitely will still allow us to do. I'm hearing interest. I know it's not everyone, but I'm generally hearing interest in also, the opportunity to still plant trees in the community. And also an interest to not lose the funding in this Shafter SERP. And so I want to make sure that we're kind of giving enough time for folks to process and kind of share their feedback. And given that we have a few other things lined up for today, I do want to propose, rather than wait until November's meeting, November feels like rather far to me. And I know sometimes, like, even if I don't talk about something in the next couple weeks after something, it kind of flies out of my brain. So I'd like to propose that we meet in September, if folks are open to it, to kind of have a follow-up discussion just about this. And like I had mentioned earlier, I think could be an opportunity for us to clarify the proposal. I think it could be an opportunity for us to really solidify and share feedback about where folks want to see urban greening. And I think it could be an opportunity for us to continue and talk about outreach on vegetative barriers. Those are all things that I think we can achieve in this meeting. And I'm seeing lots of thumbs up, because I think overall, I think there's lots of common threads of what we want to do. We all want to bring kind of benefits to the Shafter community. And I think there's lots of discussions that we can still have about how we can make that happen in a way that feels good to the community. So we will follow up on kind of feedback for kind of that next session with you all. And I think with that, I will pass back to Diana.
Thank you, Steph. This is Diana. I also saw a lot of thumbs up for a meeting in September. So look out for communication from the Air District about the timing for that. So with that, I'm going to do a time check with you, Steph, about if you would. So we are going to, if you're following along with your agenda, because we wanted to allocate more time to the discussion we were just having, we're going to skip the next agenda item, what was going to be the next agenda item about the CERT measure implementation update. And my question for you, Steph, is if you would like to do a shortened version of the wildfire agenda item, or if you would like to skip to the standing updates. And I know we have a guest for the standing update, so wanted to also flag that.
This is Stephanie. I do, Mari, I wonder if maybe there's a quick verbal, like kind of summary we can share related to kind of wildfires, just keep being aware of kind of what's happening. Just as a preview to you all, and this is something that you all might be experiencing, is as we get into summertime, this is especially a time that we want to start to think about kind of how we can, as a community, as a valley, like protect ourselves from wildfire impacts. We did have a whole great presentation that Maricela and her whole team prepared. I think just given the time, I do think, Mari, if you don't mind just giving a high level overview of some things that folks might be thinking about, and then we can share the presentation for you all to review kind of at your own time. And Mari and her team are here all the time for you. If you have questions, you can always reach out directly to her and her team to get any, answer any questions.
Okay. Sí, bueno, Stephanie, sí puedo hacer la
Yes,
presentación.
Stephanie, I can just do an update of the presentation. Good afternoon. This is Maricela, supervisor from the Outreach Department and Communication. As Stephanie was mentioning, I'll just do a review, a fast review, just to be able to talk about what you're possibly seeing right now in San Joaquin Valley and the Shafter area in Bakersfield. Let me I'm gonna do the slide just to show you a few of the things that we are seeing right now.
Disculpen, estoy teniendo problemas.
I apologize, I'm having technical difficulties.
Okay, aquí está la diapositiva.
We have the slide
¿Qué es
here.
lo que estamos haciendo
What
acerca
is it that
de
we are doing about the wildfires? And we're communicating with the school district, and we also send the information that you see in this presentation on how they can, because we know that the kids are preparing to go back to school. So we are giving them the websites where they can visit and how to see the air quality in the area and how to protect the students as well. And as we mentioned, we have seen that we have seen some changes in the air quality due to wildfires, and we are communicating with the public and with the all the media in English and Spanish. We use all the platforms from the social media. We use all the social media, and we are seeing some of the images that we utilize when we are seeing all those impacts, because we know that it's something that the public needs to know to be able to protect themselves from the. And we have different apps where you could receive this information from. It could be this app, Bali Air, or the Air Now. Those are some of the measures or platforms that you could utilize. And also we have the fire map and purple air, and those are the platforms that you can use. So simply want you to be able to see how the air quality is so you can protect yourself. Any platforms or app that you use, we want you to use it again just to see that you get. And some of the flyers that we have been sending is how to protect yourself from the smoke. Just stay or remain inside your home. And if you see the smoke and if you feel the smell of smoke, you can replace the filters more frequently than usual, because we know that the filters are making the quality of the air better inside of our homes. And also you can use masks, and some of them are more effective. We need to use the N95 because those are the ones who are protecting us the most. And also, if you have any chronic problem, asthma, or problems in your lungs, you can consult with your doctor, because your doctor will be able to give you some other things that you could do to protect yourself. And this is the same. You can create clean air inside your home. And this is when you are using the air purifier. If you keep the doors and the windows closed. And if it's possible, you can use the AC system or search for a clean air room. And we know the Kern County, we have, I think, two of them, and in Bakersfield, we have also so you can go and breathe this healthy air. And if you don't have air purifier in your home, you can go there. And we also mentioned that you can use a mask. And in your community, we have these air purifiers. And if you haven't received one, or if you know a family member or someone who hasn't received one, this is the moment to apply. You can communicate directly with us, 559-230-5800, and we can help you to fill out these applications, or simply you can visit our website and you can search that in the app to be able to fill out the application with the air purifier. And as I mentioned, the clean air room or centers, we can see what areas and where are the centers located, and you can communicate with us as well to give you that information. But this is what I wanted to review, is that we have a web page where you could go if there's a fire that is affecting you. Let me just switch the slide to a different one. One moment. I think this is the one. Okay, this is the website where you can receive this information, and this page can give you a lot of resources. And this is the fire and smoke map, and this will let you know what's the air quality through the valley. And as you can see closer where I am located, the air quality in certain parts is green. That means that the air quality is good. But if I just do a close-up or I change it a little bit, you could see all California, all the different areas in Bakersfield, and the air quality at this moment. And all of these monitors are stationary monitors from the air district, and those are temporary monitors. And these also include the purple air monitors or those sensors. So as you can see right now, the air quality through the valley and the whole state, we can see that the air quality is good or moderate, including areas where we are where we have wildfires at this moment. And the reason is that this smoke is the smoke is going up due to the extreme heat that we have right now. So this smoke is going up and it's moving around. And that's why we can see when we see up, but we're not seeing it at the level of the ground. And that's a good thing for us because we're not breathing that. And besides that, this section, you could go down a little bit. And when it says air quality information, or if you click in Spanish, it says the same thing, but in Spanish. And if you click on this, it has other resources that you can utilize. But the one that I really like is the one that says current satellite imagery. And this will let you see a picture of how the state looks right now and the smoke. And if you can see this diagram, we can see the smoke from the fire, and we can see that is going down to the south and to the other side. So we can see that in reality, this fire is not affecting us. But if we see this image last Saturday, this smoke was going in here in the San Joaquin Valley, and that's why we were seeing those impacts in your areas. But at the moment, it's going to the south and also to the east, and it's not affecting us at this moment. But like I was saying at the beginning, we have this section that it says if we have a fire that is affecting us, and right now we have the gift for fire. The one is the one that I was showing you right now in San Obispo and Santa Barbara. But I'm gonna just leave it like that because I know that we have some other information that they would like to review. But if you have any questions, I'm here to help you.
This is Diana. Thank you, Mari. That was really helpful. I'm also noting that Rocio put the link to the website that Madi shared in the chat. So if you would like to look at that later, you could also go there. And there were a question in the chat about getting some pollution readings from around the July 3rd about having the drone show and fireworks. And so we'll write that as an action item. And actually, Steph already did that. So Steph, if you want, would you like to share what you found?
This is Stephanie. Michelle asked an interesting question about kind of the readings from July 3rd from last year versus this year, because I know a lot of folks in the community are aware there was an alternatives to firework kind of show, a drone show. I did a quick glance. I will say this is not vetted from our monitoring team, but there was a bit of a peak the evening of July 3rd last year that I don't see this year on July 3rd. It was a relatively clean evening, but again, this is something I will have our air monitoring team look into and follow up in action items.
This is Diana. Thank you, Steph. Thank you for all that. So I'm going to transition us now to our next agenda item, which is the standing updates. And so, as you know, part of the standing updates is to hear from people or organizations that are doing work in the Shafter community. And so today we're going to hear from a new organization that's joining today to provide an update for CSC members. It's the University of Southern California Equity Research Institute. And they'll present on some work that they're doing that impacts the AB 617 community of Shafter and some ways that you all can get involved directly. They're going to share some slides describing their work and take questions at the end of that. And it's a short presentation, so you won't have to wait very long for your questions. And I'm going to pass it to Connie. And Connie, before I do that, I want to make sure that you are able to share your screen.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm actually going to have Vanessa share it.
Okay.
I'll be doing the presentation.
So we can see your screen and we see the regular slides, not presentation mode, but I think now. Yes, that is good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to do it in Spanish. Okay. Hola, buenas tardes. Soy Connie Valencia y formo parte de un equipo de investigación.
Good afternoon. My
Ahora
name is Connie
conmigo,
Valencia and I'm part of a
está
research team.
Vanessa
I
Carter
have
Balusta y Jim
Vanessa
Sad.
Carter
Nuestro
and Jim
equipo
Sad.
viene de
Our
5
team
universidades,
comes
incluyendo la
from different
Universidad de Berkeley,
universities,
el Colegio de
including
Occidente,
Berkeley
la Universidad
University,
del Sur de California,
the University of
la
the
Universidad
South
de
of
California,
California,
San Diego y la
University of
Universidad de
California,
California,
San
Santa Cruz.
Diego,
Y
and
fuimos
University of
contratados
California in
por
Santa
CARB
Cruz.
para hacer la
We were
implementación de
hired
la
by
ley
CARB
AB 617.
to do this AB 617 evaluation.
Thank you. Nuestra
Gracias.
evaluación se basa en
Our
las
evaluation
evaluaciones
is
anteriores.
based
La
on
meta de
previous
esta evaluación es
evaluations.
para
The
entender cómo la
objective is
ley
to
AB
understand
617 y el
how the
programa de
law
protección del aire de la
sometimes
comunidad.
Sorry, this
and
is
the air
Stephanie.
protection program for the community.
Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, Connie. I just see a message from, I want to make sure you all don't get too far into the presentation. I'm seeing a message that there's no interpretation. I just maybe want to see if anyone else is having issues. I can hear, I'm in the English channel and I can hear the translation of you, but I just want to see if there's any issues for anyone else.
Bianca, can you hear? This is Diana.
I can hear in the English, but not in the Spanish.
Yo la puedo escuchar en español y estoy en el canal de español.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying it in Spanish. Is that okay?
Honey, ¿estás en el canal de español? ¿Puedes cambiarle el canal de español, por favor?
Okay, let me see.
Tony, can you change to the Spanish channel, please?
Perfect, thanks. Yeah, I'm seeing Tanya. This is Stephanie. I'm seeing a message
Aquí
from
Stephanie veo un mensaje de Tania.
I go to the Spanish one, you said?
Voy al canal de español.
Sí, si puedes en el, parece que está un icono
Yes,
de,
there's like
niño,
a,
y luego
a word
está
like
el
icon
canal
and
de
you
español.
will select interpretation and
¿Ya
then
me
Spanish.
pueden escuchar?
Sí.
Can you hear me now?
¿Está bien? I see.
Can anyone hear me? Can everyone
Can
hear me
everybody hear
now?
me?
This is Diana. Bianca, can you hear Connie? Yes, okay. Connie,
Okay.
you're good to go. Thank you for pausing
Okay.
us, Steph, and Bianca for saying something.
Okay, muchas gracias.
Thank you very
Como estaba
much.
diciendo nuestra
As
evaluación,
I explained
vamos a ir a la
our
segunda,
evaluation,
el segundo slide, por favor. Second slide.
let's go to the
Vanessa,
second
thank
slide.
you. Thank you. Nuestra evaluación se basa en evaluaciones anteriores. La
Our
meta de esta
evaluation is
evaluación
based
es
on
para
previous
entender
evaluation.
cómo la
The
ley
objective is
ABC17 y el
how
programa de
the
protección del
law
aire en la
and the
comunidad
air protection
ha
program in the
avanzado o
community
no
has
en la
moved
equidad.
forward
La evaluación
in
se enfoca en los
equity.
análisis de
Evaluation
5
is focused
comunidades al final de
on the
la
analysis
implementación
of
del
the 5
SERP,
communities at
que
the
se
end of the
centra
SERP
tanto en
implementation
los procesos como
that
en los
focuses
resultados
on processes
e
as well
incluye
as outcomes
recomendaciones
and
prácticas para
includes practical
la
recommendations
recopilación de
for
datos y
data
un marco de
collection
trabajo para
and
la
a
evaluación
framework for
futura del
future
programa.
evaluation of the program.
Next slide. El proceso de investigación lleva varios pasos. Primero
The
que quiero decirles que
evaluation
con el
process
equipo
takes several
consultivo
steps.
de investigación
First, what we did with the
desarrollamos una
team, we
metodología para
developed a
completar la
methodology
evaluación
to
y
complete
esto incluyó
the
a miembros de la comunidad
evaluation,
chapter, que
and these
incluye
include
Angie
members of the
Nelson,
chapter
Bianca
community, Angie
Santoyo y
Nelson,
Stephanie
Bianca
Hen.
Santoyo, and Stephanie
Pero
Hen.
desde ahora hasta marzo del
But
2026
from now until March of
estaremos conectando con los
2026, we
CSCs
are
para
connecting
averiguar
with
sus
CSCs
prioridades.
to find out
Vamos a
their
conducir
priorities.
entrevistas,
We're
grupos
going
de
to have
enfoque y
interviews,
encuestas.
focus groups, and
Y vamos a
surveys.
analizar los datos para
We're going to
entender el
analyze
resultado
the
del chapter
data
y
to
también
understand
en
the
Oakland,
outcomes in chapter as well as
Los
in
Ángeles, San
Oakland,
Diego,
LA, San
Portside
Diego,
y la comunidad
Portside,
Calexico, Urber y el
and
centro.
the Connecticut
Después vamos a
community.
reportar
So
nuestros
we're going to
hallazgos
report
a
on
ustedes y a la comunidad
findings
y a
back to
CARP.
you and CARP.
Sabemos que, como dije
We
anteriormente,
know
sabemos que ha
that
habido
there
investigaciones
has
aquí, pero
been
queremos saber si ustedes están de acuerdo
some
con los
things here, but
resultados
we want to know if you
en
agree with the
en relación
results
con los procesos.
in
Sabemos
relation
que
to the processes.
se han,
We
sabemos
know
que se han
that
desarrollado varias
they have
cosas,
developed
incluyendo
different things,
el SERP CSC implementos de
including the
acciones,
SERP
y me refiero
CSC action
al rastreador
items
de
trackers.
estrategias del SERP,
I'm
que
talking
documenta el
the
progreso de
SERP
las
action item trackers
implementación de SERP
that
y está
documents
disponible
the
en inglés y
implementation of
español.
SERP, and it's available in
También que
Spanish and English.
han podido facilitar
And also,
externos terceros han podido
they
desarrollar
have able to have third-party
subcomités
facilitators to develop.
representación de
You have
grupos de interés,
subcommittees,
presupuestos
participatory
participación y
budgeting,
talleres
interest group
interactivos.
representation, and also
Pero
interactive
también hay unas
workshops.
deficiencias en el proceso que
But there
incluye
are some
la
shortcomings
oposición
in the
aliada con la
process
industria,
that continues some,
perdón,
I'm sorry,
confusión jurídica temprana y
early
también que
jurisdiction
hay
confusion,
inconsistencias
some
relacionadas con la
inconsistency
documentación sobre el proceso de votaciones
on the
y
documentation
barreras
of the voting
lingüísticas.
processes, and some linguistic barriers.
Next slide. Pero también hay fortaleza en los resultados.
Also, there is a strength in the
Esto incluye
results,
la
and this
resiliencia
includes
comunitaria
community resilience.
y esto me refiero a que el
Um,
CSC solicitó un
that means
sistema
that
de
CSC
notificación de
had
pesticida,
a
pero el condado
notification
no lo
system, but
apoyaba,
the
pero la
county
comunidad
was
insistía y al
not
fin pudieron
supporting,
agregar
but the
un
community
sistema
put
que
pressure
no
on it, and they were
beneficiara nomás
able
a la
to
comunidad,
add a
pero también
system
el
that didn't
estado.
not just benefit
Y
the
también
community,
que
but
hubo
also the
reasignación
state.
del presupuesto que también fue que
And there was
benefició
also
la región. Y esto fue que
budget
la comunidad
reallocation. There was
reevaluó el
regional
presupuesto y
benefit.
decidieron
The
realocar
community
unos fondos
reassessed the budget
que
and then
originalmente
reallocate a couple
estaban
of
planeando
funds
para
that
la
originally
industria
were planned for the industry.
aviaria y también que hubo planificación de
And also there
infraestructura
was
receptiva.
planning
Pero la
for responsive
deficiencia en los
infrastructure
resultados
planning.
indica
The
que
outcome
hubo
shortcomings,
posible desconfianza
there
hacia
was
los
like a
beneficios
potential
públicos y es
distrust of
porque
the
hay
public
familias
benefits,
que
and that's
están
because there
preocupadas de
are
aceptar o
families that are
solicitar purificadores
concerned.
de aire por
They need
cuestiones
air
de
purifiers,
ciudadanía o inmigración.
and they couldn't access to it because of citizenship and immigration status
Next slide.
conditions.
Esperamos que
We
que nos puedan
expect
acompañar para
that
comprender
you could
mejor la comunidad de
help us
chapter
to
el
understand
11 de
better the chapter
septiembre de 6
community
a
on
8 de la
September
de la noche.
11 from 6 to 8
Vamos,
p.m. The benefits to participate is that you will be able to contribute to a response to the people's blueprint. Your comments will inform decision makers and program policies. You would able to tell us what you want us to research. You can advise us on who we should interview. If you're interested, please, you can get in touch with Bianca Santoyo. This is the email, and there is also a phone number where you can call to access more information. Thank you very much.
This is Diana. Thank you so much, Connie. I want to see really quick if anybody has any questions for Connie, especially as it relates to how you all can participate if you would like to do that. Connie or Vanessa, I'm wondering if you could put the contact. Oh, thank you. You put the PDF. I believe those are those the slides? Thank you. And do the slides have your contact information and the information about the September 11th discussion in there?
Yeah, they have both, but I'll also put mine in the chat and maybe Connie could drop hers as well.
This is Diana. Thank you. So if you would like more information about the Equity Research Institute Shafter research, please look at the PDF that is in the chat. You could also reach out to Vanessa, who is putting her information in the chat, and Connie, and then Stephanie also said that they will email all of this information to everybody after the meeting in their normal post-meeting communications. So thank you, Connie and Vanessa. Our next standing update is from CARB, and I see Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all again. My name, for those that don't know, is Mike Alves. I work for the Office of Community Air Protection. I just have a quick, small update here. Every year, just for context, my office, OCAP, gives an update for the Community Air Protection Program as a whole, and we did that recently on July 24th. We typically have a few CSC members from throughout the state participate in this presentation, and we did this time. This update highlights the progress made in terms of emissions, exposures achieved for our communities, as well as some other accomplishments and challenges. For Shafter specifically, for instance, you guys played an incredibly pivotal role in DPR's spray days, the pesticide notification system. And that was outlined in our progress update as well. And I am going to just post the YouTube link to see. I think there's an agenda. Things are timed, so you don't have to watch the whole thing, but you can sort of find the different places where we have some of the CSC members talk during this meeting. And then lastly, I just want to thank USC, Connie Valencia, for giving the update about the AB 617 evaluation. I would really urge everyone, if they're able to contribute their experiences. I think it's a really great way to get involved, and I think it's highly important. I think everyone can agree that the program that we're in is not what it was 5 years ago. And we're still continuing to improve that. And so all of your guys' really great experiences, something we, I think, want to hear.
This is Diana. Thank you so much, Mike. And Mike did put in the chat a link to the YouTube for the CARB board meeting if you would like to check that out. The next standing update is from DPR. Do you all have an update you'd like to share?
Good evening, everybody. Actually, this week we do not have any update. So
that is also, this is Diana. That is also totally fine. And we are happy that you are here anyway.
Thank you so much. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their evening, but I do not have any standing update. So hopefully next time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So now then I'm going to pass it. Oh, sorry, Stephanie.
This is Stephanie from the Valley Air District. I did think because I've given so many other updates and my team has announced a lot of things, I thought I'd be done giving updates. But the last thing I did want to share with folks is we have been doing, and you all are aware of this, quarterly air monitoring updates for the community, just so you all can get a sense of kind of what the last quarters looked like. Given our packed agenda, we didn't have time to share it as a presentation, but I did want to make you all aware that it's available for you all to review. And following today's meeting, our team will kind of wrap up all of these updates in an email to you all so you can take a look at all of the materials at your own time. Thank you.
This is Diana. Thank you, Steph. So now I'm going to pass it to, we have two Vanessas today, so I'm passing it to Vanessa Gomez for our wrap up and sharing of action items and next steps.
This is Vanessa. Thank you, Diana. We've reached that part of the meeting. We're going to start wrapping up. I want to reiterate how grateful we are that our team is for all of you contributing your comments and your questions, really engaging in today's very important discussion. And we're really looking forward to continuing this discussion at the next CSC meeting. So that being said, I'm going to share my screen so I can provide some details about that meeting. 1 second. Okay. Can you all see my screen okay?
Yes, I see the slides.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, as a reminder, since we've switched to quarterly meetings, we'll have our next quarterly CSC meeting via Zoom like we usually do, and that's going to take place on Monday, November 10th at 5 p.m. at our usual time. So we look forward to seeing you there. And as we usually do during the end of our CSC meetings, we're going to go ahead and share the action items that we
Vanessa,
have
this
added.
is Diana. I'm going to interrupt you because Steph has her hand raised, and I think it might be about this next meeting.
Sure.
This is Stephanie, and sorry to interrupt the flow, Vanessa. What is one thing I did want to bring up, and some of you, it feels very far away right now, but I just wanted to make everyone aware that there is a holiday kind of this year. It's very different from how it has been historically. We've had to reschedule occasionally our Shafter November meeting because it's fallen on Veterans Day. This year it's kind of in a weird spot. It's on a Tuesday. So our main meeting is actually going to be the day before a holiday. I do think it's very possible that there are some people that are maybe taking time off and that it might present a conflict. So I do also maybe want to propose that we move the meeting to the 3rd. So it's just 1 week earlier, and just see if there's any reactions or thoughts to that, because otherwise the meeting will be sandwiched between the weekend and then a Tuesday off. So I do think there are some people that might maybe take some vacation, take some time off. And so just wanting to see if November 3rd, which is the Monday right before it, would be a date that works for the CSC as well. Maybe just seeing if there's like thumbs up, or I see Michelle's hand too. See, I just wanted to see if there's reactions to that. Or if folks are like, I'm busy on the 3rd, we'll just keep the regular 10th. We're still working, but we're just aware that there's some conflicts that arise when there's holidays. I'm seeing a couple thumbs up already. I see 2 thumbs up.
This is Diana. Michelle, were you expressing that that day does work for you, or did you have a different question?
I had a different question. I thought in all the conversations we're having, did we talk about having a meeting in September? Did I misunderstand? I thought maybe we were going to continue this conversation. I thought we said in September. Is that a subcommittee meeting?
Yep.
If it's one, but it has to be in the evening, because I think that's why we didn't get as many people, because it was like from 4 to 5. So I guess, and
Right.
whether the one in November is mismo to me. That's whatever you guys want to do. That's fine. But what I thought
Yes.
I heard something about September.
This is Diana. Yes. And so the September proposal is for a subcommittee meeting. And the Air District is going to figure out when the scheduling works and reach out to all of you to make sure that that works. So that will not be a regular CSC meeting. And your point, Michelle, about considering the timing and when people could come to that subcommittee meeting, we've made a note of that. So thank you. And Julio, were you raising your hand to talk about, to say that you're supporting moving the November meeting, or did you have a different
No, I'm so
question?
sorry about I was kind of just well, no, just going back to the updates and stuff too. I did want to let it be known that I've heard a lot of the comments and stuff, especially back to the conversation about the vegetative barriers and such. I've been taking notes on a lot of the concerns, and I'm just going to, I do hear, and I'll be submitting a lot of these. I'll be letting my management know about a lot of the desires that are being voiced by the community right now when it comes to the vegetative barriers and all the other things I've been hearing tonight. So I just wanted to let that be known. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. I'll pass it back to you, Vanessa.
This is Vanessa. Thank you, Diana. I'm gonna now share my screen so I can share the action items that we wrote down for today. And as we mentioned before, we like to share these action items with everyone to ensure that there's transparency and accountability. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'll zoom in a little bit. So for today's CSC meeting, we included 2 action items, and I'll read those out now. The first one is the AD will follow up with the CSC for input on next subcommittee meeting, which is scheduled for September. And the next one is the Air District will share air pollution readings of July 3rd to July 4th with the CSC.
This is Diana. Vanessa, I would add one about the Air District following up about the date for the November meeting. It seems like we're trying to decide between whether it's November 3rd or the week before the normal meeting or the date of the regular meeting, which would be November 10th. So it sounds like the action item is for the Air District to do some follow up on that and then let all of the CSC members know when that is.
Great. This is Vanessa. Thank you, Diana. Are there any changes that need to be made to the other action items, or are there any other action items that I missed?
I have a question real quick for the one on the sharing the air pollution readings. I want to see the comparison from the 2024 July 3rd versus the 2025 July 3rd, please.
And this is to clarify even further Angie's point. So it says 7/3/2025. I think Angie was wanting to see 7/3/2024. And then
Thank you.
7/3/2025.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great, thank you. Anything else? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen now. And with that, we can move on to public comment. So once again, I'd like to thank everyone for your continued engagement at today's CSC meeting and beyond these CSC meetings as well. We're super grateful for everyone being here and sharing all of their questions and concerns during this meeting. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor to anyone who would like to make any final comments. As a reminder to folks, community member comments continue to be super important to this process because they ensure that the program is shaped with community's perspectives in mind. And so if you'd like to make a comment, we encourage you to, if you're a public attendee on Zoom, please raise your hand to ask a question. Or if you are on the phone, you can press *9 or type in the chat to share a question or comment. I'm not seeing anything. I'll give it another minute in case folks are thinking of something to share.
Vanessa, this is Diana. Are there any comments on the YouTube Live? Thank you for checking.
Still not seeing anything, so that just about wraps up our meeting for today. With that, I'm going to pass the mic on to Stephanie for any final remarks before officially closing the meeting.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. This is Stephanie. I just wanted to share my extreme appreciation to you all for kind of sharing your thoughts. I think just in my history of kind of working with you all in these meetings, I think a really quiet meeting are the meetings that I find the most difficult because it's hard to really feel like kind of how folks are feeling. So I just wanted to express my huge gratitude. I think looking around this room, I heard from pretty much most folks today. And so I just wanted to continue to thank you all for being engaged in the process, continue to thank you all for kind of working with us and being open to the process of us kind of working together through a lot of different things. So I just, again, we'll follow up. We have a few definitely through the action items and kind of through this meeting, a few things to follow up with you on to continue the conversation. And we'll be in touch soon about that. But I just wanted to, again, thank everyone. Hope everyone has a nice end of their summer. And we'll see you all soon for the kind of follow-up meetings that we have.
Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks, Steph, for those final remarks. And thanks, everyone, once again for attending today's meeting. I hope you'll have a really nice evening. And until next time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.